Gotcha. Yeah, so I think I give a category of 3 possible problems with virtual reality. The first is what I would call the question of idolatry, which is we take our imagination and we make it our God. Now, of course, I don't think we're going to actually construct a golden calf and worship it like the early Israelites, but we start to believe that whatever comes through our imagination is, divine, it's holy. We worship our imagination, we worship our senses. That's the question of idolatry. The second is that it'll replace our needs and obligations. Actually, if you think about it during lockdown, one of the main arguments that was made about digital technology and live streaming is that it could replace interaction person to person. That, you don't need to be in the same room if you can live stream or if you can talk on a phone call. That's not true. That's a lie. You still need in-person contact. Now, I will say this. The phrase I come back to get at the theology of it is where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. So people always ask me, will this make life worse or will it make it better? Here's the thing though, it could be both simultaneously. So for many of the people in the room, you're going regularly to confession, you're praying the rosary, and if you're not going to confession and praying the rosary, start doing it today. Confession, rosary, right? If you're doing those things, you're praying daily, you're going weekly, chances are you're not going to fall into serious addictions with technology. But it's the same thing with a smartphone. You hand it to a 6-year-old and you say, go to town. I've worked with students that they were exposed to pornography at a young age. They were exposed to things. And yeah, that's going to lead to addiction. But here, going back to where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. Sin can abound. That is, for many people, things will get worse. I actually think for the poor who are not in a faith community and don't have people around them to hold them accountable, for the poor, it may be devastating. That is, they'll hook their kids up to a VR headset and let them play for hours, and they'll get into all kinds of bad things. But where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. And see, this is what we're working on with the Carlos Acutis Project. We're going to do things like you're going to be able to visit the Vatican in VR or on a desktop or a smartphone. You're going to be able to explore. You're going to be able to earn tokens. We can talk about that more. And you're going to be able to have these virtual experiences where you experience parts of the world. Maybe you even think about this, the Philippines or Vietnam, Catholicism in those countries, Africa. You're going to be able to feel like you're present and feel connected with the global church. See beauty and art from all these cultures, things that you may not be able to afford in person. So where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. The third danger, the third is what I call simulation. So there's the idea of simulating the sacraments. So it's a sin to simulate the sacraments. So let's say one of you decides that you're going to put on a cassock, you're going to wear some vestments, and you're going to pretend that you're a priest and you're going to have a mass in one of the rooms and invite students to it, right? That would be a grave sin to simulate the sacraments. But if you're a little kid playing mass, that's not a sin, right? There's a little bit of a gray area. If you're an actor in a movie doing beautiful art for God, it's not a sin to pretend to be a priest. So there's a line where you start to see, and really all those things, when you really break it down, they're actually virtual experiences. As much as VR is new, it's old. It's an imagination. In the 17th and 18th and 19th centuries, the saints constantly complained that people were obsessed with novels. That is, like these trashy novels, and that they would read too much, that they would be too immersed in their imagination. So really, many of the complaints that we have about smartphones and VR, they've had about other technologies in the past. It's just now, hardly anybody will give you a hard time for reading too many novels, but now we're more worried about phone addictions. I also tell one thing, I know you're probably hearing it different from other people here. I always talk with my college students, I'm like, guys, I grew up before the internet. It's not like we were sitting around talking about philosophy all the time. It wasn't like we were having these deep heart-to-heart conversations and crying and I'm here for you, brother, and that with the internet it just all broke apart. We did bad things too. Actually, some ways we did worse things, but that's another longer topic.